We got to get a graphics that says pre-show. We got to do that.
We got to get clips. Oh, we forgot to talk about that
clips.
before we went live.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are in the pre-show, and at 8:00 sharp, we're going to start the show. But we just here going to chat it up with my man Sass. Our guest, he's back, second week in a row. What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I can't believe it's already been a week. I feel like I was on the show like yesterday.
Right.
But yeah, I got a whole bunch of streams lined up this week. A lot of repeats, actually. So I was on yesterday. I was on Of the People, like the panel, which is from Nerds for Humanity, which is the stream I was on. I'm on this stream again this week. And then later this week, I'm going to be on Yank Gang Roundtable Live on Friday. Thursday, I'm going to be on Mute the Media and the Trickle Up. And I've been on all of those before. So it's like really interesting. They just, all the requests just kind of came at one time. They're like, can you do this week? And so it's super cool. Like it's all ramping up that I get to do all these reappearances again.
That's awesome.
Do you find that you get to like communicate with the audience when you go on these shows?
To some degree. I mean, like, I don't think any of them have huge audiences. So it's like there's limited comments. But like none of them are like restrictive about it for the most part.
Cool. All right. Well, definitely hope that you can, when you get elected, you still come back on those same shows, even though we have small audience. Man. At least once. I thought it would have been cool if AOC is probably our top person that got in the office after Bernie. That became super popular, and I thought it would have been cool. I don't know if she did it or not. I don't want to say that she didn't do it, but I know she was a hustler. That's one thing. Got to give it to AOC. Yeah. She was, her shoes, I think, is in the Smithsonian for being worn down because she knocked on so many doors. But she also went on a ton of shows, and shows could have 10 people on it. So like, I really respect that hustle. But I thought it would have been super cool if she went straight back and said at least once. I can't go on every single show all the time, but I'll go on once, like even the little channels. I thought that would have been cool. So would you do that, Sass?
Yeah, I certainly would try to. I mean, like you said, I mean, like, one of the nice things is like virtual is just so much more acceptable now. And so like that makes it so much easier because you don't have to like travel places to like go be on shows. So it's like it's like I mean doing things live is like part of it's like, okay, well that might be at like key times of day. Like if I'm like debating somebody on the House floor or whatever, sorry, I can't get on your show. Right. But if you want to record at 2 a.m, man, like whatever, I'll do it. Like
2 a.m.
You help me come up. I owe you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be doing anything at 2 a.m. But while we're at it,
you guys were talking about going live. When was it? Like at midnight the other night?
Oh yeah,
during the vote.
Actually, that is true. Thank you for pointing that out because it was like around midnight that we found out that the infrastructure bill passed. I was like, half jokingly, I was like, man, we want to go live. Anybody want to go live? I thought me and John was in the chat.
Dude, I was very upset.
Yeah,
going live. I think going live would have been a good idea.
Yeah. So, do you have any update on how you feel about what passed, Sass?
So I did like this whole super long Twitter thread. I was like, I'm gonna go through all 2,700 pages of this thing and just come along with me and like just see what I think about stuff as I go through it. Because like I told you, I stopped paying attention to the details a while ago, and I was like, I'm gonna go through it when it comes out. So I did that over the weekend. So you can find that thread on my Twitter profile. So in isolation, generally positive on the bill. There are a couple of things I didn't like, but like it felt like there was too much focus on roads and vehicles and not enough focus on pedestrians and public transportation. There were a lot of stuff. There was most stuff in there I felt was underfunded, which just kind of makes sense because they kept bringing down the price tag. But the stuff that was in there was good. I felt it needed to have more money. Some of the big things that like I want to highlight for the water, the clean running water. It was actually really cool. The bill is written in this with like almost like an attitude of like, we are getting clean running water to every person in this country, and there ain't shit you can do to stop that. It was pretty cool. It was like even if it's not funded, figure it out. get it done. And then broadband, I was a little disappointed by. At first, I was excited because it started talking about like megabits per second and stuff. I was like, sweet, this is going to actually have like quantifiers in it. But then when it came to like setting prices for rural broadband, it was like, okay, it's formatted as like grants to actually, so private companies can submit proposals to get grants to build the infrastructure, the broadband infrastructure. And part of that proposal includes like what the price is going to be. And then like there's a committee that like accepts it or whatever, but then it goes to public comment. But the problem is there's no mechanism to hold them accountable to that price. And there's no mechanism for like what is an acceptable price. And there's actually a clause that specifically states that there's not allowed to be any regulations on those prices. So like that was super disappointing because like who knows what they're going to charge. So like that was disappointing.
So by any chance, do you know if they specify that it has to be fiber? Because I'm curious if it's going to be high speed.
Yeah, it'll be mostly fiber. It was funny. There was a clause that was like, you are not allowed to buy fiber optic cables from China unless they're cheaper. I was like, why is this in here?
They always will be.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So just to be clear, we're talking about the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Yeah, we're talking about the 1.2 trillion or whatever. The one.
Yeah. Did you read the part where they're going to be like basically selling off public infrastructure they're going to privatize it, and then of course
that was like in like pages like 2600, and I was kind of done by that point. So I missed that when I initially but I heard about it later. I heard about it later. But like the thing is though, like the thing is like the point is like, look, I'm not gonna be able, I didn't read every word, right? But it's like what should happen is like you have a bunch of representatives who are each doing this and we're all catching little things. Okay. So like I was catching stuff about like, oh, like they're cutting red tape on nuclear power. Awesome. But like, the like charging, electric vehicle charging, they're approaching this wrong. Like the focus needs to be on reliability with like minimum uptimes, not on building more chargers right now. It's the uptimes that are messed up. And I assume that nobody in Congress knows this because I don't know that any of them drive electric vehicles. Okay. But then like I was actually super positive on like carbon capture. It was really focused on like, we need to do R&D and like specifically focused on like clean, scalable versions, which we don't have yet, but like we need to have it and we need to put the money into it. So I like that just generally throughout the bill, it didn't seem to be afraid to put money just into research on different topics. I was disappointed. The Pete Buttigieg, like you taxing people per mile driven, there is a pilot program for that in there. And that's BS to me. I'm just like, just give people a basic income and eliminate subsidies for fossil fuel corporations. Like this is not complicated. So like, but the part about like selling off stuff to private, like that is not the right way to do public-private partnerships for sure. Yeah. Like it can be done well, but that's not how you do it.
Okay.
This infrastructure bill is just basically like Obamacare. But on the infrastructure side, everything is privatized. It's a lot of like they went at it, and there was a lot of good things in there. There's also a lot of things that were pretty bad. But again, like I think they're gonna, because they gave in on it. Yeah. The BBB is going to be basically
like either watered down. I predict it's not going to pass. But I think if it does pass, it's going to be super watered down. Let me give it to Sass. Go ahead, Sass.
Well, yeah, and that's the zooming. That's the bigger picture, right? That's the political side of the question of like, although in isolation, I'm generally positive on the infrastructure bill, I would have voted no because the whole point is that it was supposed to be leveraged to get more stuff in the Build Back Better. And so now that leverage has been thrown away or has been lost. And so like,
Can I ask you how you would have voted if you were in Congress?
If I was in Congress on Thursday, Friday, whatever the hell it was, I would have voted no on the infrastructure bill because it, like, again, like we have to, like, I hate that we have to play political games, but we do. And I'm not like, I'm privy to that reality. And so like, I would have continued to try to use it as leverage.
All right. Let me go to the chat real quick to give some love to the chat. Rafael Rodriguez, hermano, what's up, my man? Jordan Ryan, he said, we're only going to get the bipartisan bill, which is just a corporate handout. Not to mention the few decent things in there can't happen without funding from the reconciliation bill. Interesting. What you think? Like the things that's in the bipartisan bill can't get funded unless it's in the reconciliation. I don't know if I get that.
There's some stuff in there like that.
Really?
Like especially like climate and stuff like that.
Really?
That will. I think there's some like it's just weird.
Yeah.
I heard today that the copper piping from AOC that she said that it's going to cost $50 billion to replace all of that lead, all of the lead pipes will cost $50 billion, but the infrastructure bill that just passed was only a couple.
7. It's like 7 billion.
I thought it was 55 billion for water.
Yeah, it was up. It
was like 55, but then it comes down. It would only get the 55 if both bills passed. So the current bill that is passing is only going to be, I think it was either 7 or 11 or something like that. That would be included in theirs, which is 20% of what we would need. So
I'd have to go through and look over the text again, but I just remember it. Being like, if it's acceptable to find alternative forms of funding. Like it was very explicit about like that the priority was getting it done, and that like we'll figure out the funding later if we need to, which is like which sounds weird. Like that doesn't sound like how legislative text works. And there was nothing else in the bill that was like that. But that's kind of what it felt like coming across me. Like I said, I don't remember exactly all the little details. It was 2,700 pages, a lot. But I'd be interested. I might go back and take another look at it.
Yeah. AOC did a great live on IG. I think she saved it. Like I think it was like 45 minutes, but she explained it. She did a good job of like explaining, the reasoning why she brought on the bill itself and like what was in it and stuff. And one of their biggest concern is, somebody asked her like, "Do you think now the BBB will pass?" And she says, "Actually, I don't know, and that's the problem. And if it passed, what is going to pass? Like they go and sell us like." They're like, "Yeah, we got the BBB, but what did they take out?" Like, they're going to be like, "Oh, here we go. You get, 500 billion. That's what you're going to get, or 300 billion, 200, whatever it is." And what is really going to be there, right? Like a lot of the things in this bill too, like you see like all the tax write-off for billionaires that's going to be in there. So there's a lot of stuff there that it wasn't, like Sass and everybody says, like the progressive basically gave their leverage. They went out there and says, first Nancy Pelosi comes in and says, both bill or nothing. Then she turns her back and says, no, we're going to do this one. And then all the progressive caucus goes in and says, both bill or nothing. And then at the 11th hour, they just fold for basically a promise.
Yeah. It's despicable. So I want to show you guys this real quick, just to lighten up the mood a little bit. Let's make fun of Nancy Pelosi a little bit.
Doesn't want hearing. We're sending stuff over to the Senate. Well, most of the product that we've done is. Now we may have added in the last day or so, and some of what we added is Senate to the bill, like a hearing. Bernie doesn't like hearing. Excuse me, Bernie loves hearing. Manchin doesn't want hearing in the bill and all that stuff. So some is Senate oriented, and then we have the family medical leave.
Is she forever drunk?
Is she saying words?
What the hell?
I'm going to tell her that she was using my internet connection.
You guys get the point. I'm not going to stay on it the whole time. Like, I hate to be ageist, but come on.
It's not. I don't think it's age. I think she's straight up forever high or drunk on some type.
She's unwell.
Yeah.
It's not like it happens, man. Angela Merkel over in Germany has been having the shakes, and like that, she's gonna be done now because it's pretty crazy. But yeah, man.
Wow,
the gerontocracy needs to end. Like, I hear that from seniors more than any other demographic.
Let me ask this question. Like we talk about, should we like have a maximum age to be in Congress? We have a minimum age. Like to be a senator, you have to be 35 and up. To be a congressperson, I think 30 and up. Like, should we say if you hit retirement age, which is like maybe not 65, but let's say 70, you got to retire. What do you guys think?
They should. They should. A lot of these people, again, and we all going to be old. We're all going to get there. They living in the past. Like we know that for us, 10 years from now, technology is going to be like we're going to talk about something and our kid's going to be like, what was that? Like, obviously you see it in this technology hearing. You see the type of question that they ask. Like, there's just got to be, like, again, like, we go back. Like, there's no reason why these people been in this position for 30, 40 years. Like, it's just, it's, I don't know. It's just the same thing. You can't be, because you're too young, you don't have enough experience or whatever. You can't be president of the United States.
Because experience is working out so well in Congress right now.
Exactly. So it's like, but you like 80 something that you can't even remember what you're saying, and you could be president of the United States.
Yeah, several. And even the California Senator, Dianne Feinstein, there's like a underground secret that she pretty much has, like, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or something, but she's forgetting. She goes to meetings and then she leaves the meeting and forgets everything that just happened in the meeting.
Like, it should be the same thing with, like, with Supreme Court judges too, like, which do the same with them. Like,
if it's legal to have a minimum age, we should also have a maximum age. I mean, it's just
I do think, like, I'm thinking about it now, and I do think that you could make an argument that, like, some of the logic that applies to the minimum age, you could also apply to a maximum age. That it's about having people in their prime, and that it's like mental degeneration is real, and that's like right. So it's like it is this opposite effect that happens, and so I think a lot of the reasons for having a minimum age could be applied to arguing in favor of a maximum age as well.
I would say that, I don't know that I'm fully for it, but if we would put something like that in, there has to be some kind of, as the years go on, the age increases, because we live longer, we live healthier as we get older. So, over time it should probably increase if there was a maximum. And then on top of that, I mean, just to throw this out there, the most progressive presidential candidate we've ever had is the oldest candidate we've ever had. So
yeah, but okay, but so was Trump, so was Biden, right?
No, but I'm saying Bernie is older than both of them.
Yeah, I know, but okay, they were all roughly the same age though. They were like 2 years apart or whatever. Like I'm
just saying that we have, John was making the point about age. As people are older, they don't have like the same, like progressive views as the younger people. But one of the most progressive.
The Bernie example is like, you have to look at the ratio, like the ratio of Bernie's to everybody else over 70.
I agree. I just threw it out there. I was saying, I'm just throwing this out there. It's just a tiny little point. And John, I know you were talking more about technology than progressivism. I get that.
Okay.
But even Bernie's on Twitter, like, killing it. He's more active on Twitter than I am. So
but Bernie have the people to do that.
He has people, of course.
But what I'm trying to say, but if you look at it, what they use against Bernie, why he had the heart issue or something that was very minimal, and they use it against him. And they were like, oh, this and that played a role in some of the reason why people voted and not voted,
All right, so there's the music. Time to start the show. Let's get it.
Oh, look at Sass. Sass with the
Sass is getting down. What's up, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are the Political Junkies back at it again. With our special guest running for office in Texas, District 35? 35?
Yeah,
yes.
Got it.
My man, Sass. We're going to be calling you PJ Sass real soon. A couple more shows, my man, and you'll be officially a PJ. How you doing, Sass?
I'm feeling pretty great. I have an incredibly exciting week that I'm in right now.
Yeah, nice.
I talked about it. I've got it posted on my Twitter. I talked about it on my live stream on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, really cool stuff happening this week.
Some big things happening. Tell us, is it you already told us in the pre-show all the different shows that you're doing. Is that it, or is there anything else you want to?
Yeah, well, there's that. And then, like, I have a couple meetings tomorrow that are, like, I'm really excited about.
Nice.
And so they're a bit secretive at the moment.
Okay, no worries.
But something to come of that. And then, do I have something cool on Wednesday? Let me check here. No, nothing crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and it's just like, because it's just a crazy time with like people entering the race, and I was like, there might be some candidates who are like switching districts, and so not me,
Okay.
I'm not switching districts, but I've talked to some. So like it'll be quite interesting to see how things go. Like it's just an exciting time because it's like, all right, we're past the November election and like districts are like pretty solidified and like now we're in this race and like it's a lot happening all at once.
Sass is heating up. It's time to get rolling. You know, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your campaign grow, you know, getting the volunteers. And I also have a meeting with the People's Gauntlet next week, Tuesday. So I'll throw that out there and hopefully getting just to put out a hint out there. It's going to someone who ran for the Democratic presidential party along with Bernie and all others, having a meeting with that person, and they have a slate of candidates. And so it's going to be interesting to see. Anybody can try to guess, but they might not get it. I don't think you're going to get it. But anyway, big things are coming, and this is getting into the heat of the campaign, right? The next is the primary date. That primary date, that's the big date that we got to shoot for. So let's get the show started. Let me go around the horn. But Sass, I want to ask you a question in No Cow Zone. I don't know if it's a No Cow Zone question for you, but I'm going to ask you a question. My question is going to be, because you were a non-affiliate at the beginning until the district was drawn. And I wanted to ask you, does that mean that if your district was drawn as like a plus red district, would you have ran as a Republican? So don't answer just yet. We're going to answer that later. Also, No Cow Zone, I have some questions. How far should leftists go to win at all costs? And I'm going to reference what I'm talking about. And then should progressives strategize against the 13 Republicans who voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill? So there's a couple questions in No Cow Zone that we're going to talk about. Let me go around the horn and say what's up to my people, my political junkies. Ben Doan is producing the show. What's up, my man? All right.
Let's go.
Thumbs up. Let's go. Izzy, my man. How you doing, brother, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I just wanted to hear Sass say nuclear one more time for me, please.
Nuclear? I'm not.
Oh, you got it this time. All right. The text came out earlier. You know, you pulled the bush earlier. You said nuclear, and I was
Maybe
like, oh, that's
cut
awesome.
out or something. Oh yeah, that's not how I normally do it.
Yeah, Gabe, how you doing, my man?
It's 69 degrees in Miami, so you know that I got my sweater on.
Oh man, 69 degrees.
Got my hoodie weather.
That sounds awesome right now.
Nice.
The TikTok maestro, Papi Chulo, Gabe. All right, John. You have any update, Gabe? I saw you took yourself off mute. Any update on that?
Oh no, I think I forget. I think I have like 600,000 views or something on a couple of different videos, so not the problem isn't going viral. The problem is staying viral. So I don't really have anything to follow up with. So I'm working on that. I'm working on what's going to be next. And my wife hates the viralness.
Listen,
she's like, stop! Like, you've ruined TikTok for me.
Dress as Big Bird and have your kids yell at you as Republicans.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, John. You got a couple shout outs.
What's up? It's Monday. Well, shout out to the Virginia Democrats for losing the House, and rather than running and actually all the great things that they did, you know, like increase the minimum wage, ending the death penalty and all that, they instead ran on Trump is bad, and you have your parents have no say on your kids' education. So shout out to them for running the worst election possible. Let's see. Shout out to my boy Big Bird. He's the number one enemy for the Republican Party right now. And finally, shout out to the Black Congressional Caucus, because what did they do? Like, they didn't hear anything about the BIF, during the BIF. Like, they were non-existent. Like, aside from always claiming to be like, the oldest like caucus out there, like, they were like, it was just a progressive caucus that gave in at 11th hour, but
that's a good point.
They didn't use any other power. So shout out to them for always doing nothing.
Yo, that's a good point. Well, what they're doing now is trying to give cover to the bipartisan bill, because they're saying how great it is for minorities and all this stuff. When you have Cori Bush, who's saying the opposite, that it doesn't target minorities, it doesn't help them specifically or us specifically. So it seems like the Black Caucus just continues to disappoint, and I hopefully something changes at some point. But
finally to the squad, so finally voting as a whole. They finally stick together and kept it together and voted for as a whole no, and they kept their word. So shout out to them.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna show a video. I'm gonna try to see if we could play a video later on. Hopefully, I find it because it's interesting. This person talked about how the squad, they gave enough votes. They had enough votes that they could say no to, but if they needed more votes, that Nancy Pelosi could have pulled them into yes. And that's just the cynic. And a lot of people are saying that they had permission to put no. But I'm going to go with you, John, that I give credit where credit is due. I look at the actions, and the action was that they voted no. And I'm very disappointed in Mondale Jones. I'm very disappointed in Katie Porter. Very disappointed in a lot of people who I would consider like squad members are on that side. And I was really hoping that they would have, they had that about 30 people or so who were holding the vote. They did it twice. And me personally, when I saw that, I got excited, and I got false hope, because then when this vote did happen, I was so hurt and disappointed. But I know I had a chat with Izzy. We had a chat where he's like, "Duh, you know this was going to happen, right, Izzy?"
If only there was someone on this panel who called this way back when.
We call this every week,
all the time. I mean, it's not hard to call. I can't lie. Is if you one thing you could count on is Democrats not using the power that they have and fumbling the ball. This is again unforced error. The Democrats, it was right there. It was a layup. It was all you got to do is just pass something basic. It's not even like the reconciliation bills, this sweeping saving grace of American history. It's like it's also pretty mediocre overall, but it's better than half of that. So that was the complete compromise bill, and it just shows why you can't negotiate with terrorists. You know, you have to come in with 10 billion. As Bernie, that first bill, he started going down to 6, and you start going down to 3.5. Nope, you got to be like 10 Medicare for all, everything. It's terrible.
And then not to get executive orders. That's something Sass, Biden gave Texas Medicare pretty much for all when they had, unfortunately, Texas had that big catastrophe when it was super cold and they had to like flush the toilets and all this stuff. I clipped it out and it went viral, actually, that Biden gave Texas Medicare because of the state of emergency. That's really what it was. But as a pandemic going throughout the whole United States, that's a state of emergency type of situation. Like if we had a Bernie in there or somebody progressive, I think they could have used that as an excuse to give us Medicare that we could have gotten used to it. What you think?
Yeah, it's kind of I'm with you. Like it's kind of a two-sided thing of like, I'm glad he did it, but like, also, were we not already in a state of emergency?
Exactly.
Like, we have multiple emergencies going on. Like, have you seen the gun death rate, like the suicide rate, the obesity rate, the cancer rate, like the climate, like natural disasters, like the pandemic? Like, there are a lot of emergencies right now that are all perfectly valid excuses to just give people health care and do all these other things. And again, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, dude, even if like half of them get shot down in court because it's like an overreach or whatever, you should still try it and like show that like this is what I'm fighting for. Like if nothing else, just send the message, dude.
Yeah.
You know, you think his approval ratings would be better than what they are if he at least like exerted some effort and at least tried?
Yeah. I think people don't realize how much power the president has. Like
because Congress keeps giving it. Right, that's like my thing. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, dude, if I was president, like, I think it's wrong for the president to have that much power. But like, if Congress doesn't want it back, then I'm going to use it.
Exactly. And I think that's why they were so afraid to have a progressive like Bernie become the president, because
he wouldn't hold back.
Yeah, he would not hold back. And then people are going to be like, well, Obama and now Biden, they're like, you guys were president. Why didn't you do the same thing that Bernie's doing?
Right. People would realize that every other president we've had has also been crap too.
But don't forget that we have the most progressive president in history.
Oh yeah.
I remember that conversation.
That's what he just said.
And right now we're bracing for impact for 2022. 2022 is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be 2010 all over again. And there's not really much we could do about it. I actually, no. Going back to what Sass was saying, there is something. Is use the pen. Is go ahead and
people
make medical marijuana legal. It's a layup. Everyone's for it. You know, it eliminate student debt. And come up with a plan for free. Like you could eliminate student debt with the pen. I don't think you can do free college with the pen, but not free, taxpayer funded. Let's never say free. But there's things that could be done, and they're not going to do it. We're gonna lose. Then the next 2 years are going to be blaming the fact that you didn't have the Congress on why nothing get done, ignoring the previous 2 years when you did have the Congress. So
you know what's funny, and I know we like in the show stuff, but you know what's funny is like how the Democrats always wanted to use the poll to be like, oh, Trump has a approval rating of 35%. And now with Biden and Harris, they're like, oh, the polls are only 1,000 people. That doesn't represent the 65 million that voted for him. And that's not right. And like now they don't believe the poll because that rating is so low. Like Harris has a 28%. Like, can you get any lower than that?
Wait, you're telling me that the candidate that was coming forth in her own
vice presidents usually do better, especially in modern history, usually do better because they're just not at the front taking the brunt of all the problems all the time. Like 28% as the vice president. Oh my goodness.
Hey, you guys are telling me that the person who came in 4th or 5th in her own state is now unpopular?
Couldn't make it to the presidential primaries. She couldn't make it.
Who could have seen that coming?
Right.
I mean, that's terrible. 2024. That's the candidate for 2024.
Oh my God! Imagine. Oh, it makes me go from my mouth a little.
Oh man, I definitely think. I think the good news is you see you hear about a lot of stories, and this is usually how they do that. They float a bubble out there into the public just to get see what the reaction is. Where you hear about donors are disappointed in her polling and how popular she is. So they're thinking about the only problem with getting rid of Kamala is they're going to put in Pete Buttigieg into that position and set him up. And I think he's a little bit more savvy. Look, he came in time, even though there's a lot of shenanigans going on in Iowa, he came pretty much tied with Bernie. So he's got a little bit more lasting power than Kamala.
Can he be worse than Kamala?
Nobody
John
could be
and
worse
then
than her. As in, nobody could be worse than her.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he can be any worse than Kamala. I'm not saying he's my choice, but probably can't be any worse. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. I'd rather have Kamala because she's worse. I think she's more beatable. I think, me personally.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like in the primaries.
Yeah. Like, so let's say Biden says, he's getting old and he says, okay, I'm just going to be a one-term president, and Kamala's the next person up. Huh? You said what, John?
He said he's going to run a second term.
Yeah, I know, but let's say you never know. Let's say
I don't take his word for anything. Like I said last week, I don't take his word on anything.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, for this scenario, like, let's say he does step down 2 years from now and says,
he dies.
God forbid, I don't want anybody to die from the most
No,
part.
yeah, I know, but like, I mean, that's like real. Like that's
it's a real
legitimate
situation.
concern.
It is something that can happen, and Kamala's president now. Then it's time to re-elect. It's time for her to start running. Like, is a progressive going to stand up and say, hey, I'm running? Because they're going to try to do the opposite of what they did in Buffalo Mayor, where they're supposed to be any blue will do, and they ran a write-in candidate with the help of Republicans against that candidate, and got him out. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on.
Well, who would be that candidate though? Like who is really going to be the progressive, that's angry enough to primary, the sitting president or maybe even the sitting vice president? Who's going to really do that? We just don't have anybody like that.
Bernie was
angry enough. Who's angry enough and old enough? That's the other thing that matters. They have to meet the age requirement too.
Yeah.
Nina Turner, probably that's the only one. But again, I don't think she needs to win.
She needs to win something.
You know what I'm seeing in this uncertainty?
Go ahead, Gabe.
You know what I'm seeing in this uncertainty is the perfect storm for a former candidate from 2016 to make her return, her glorious return to the Democratic Party.
No.
nomination.
We're talking about progressive. Don't depress us. Don't depress the whole game.
I'm saying you heard it here
we're talking about
first. I'm
progressives,
saying
bro.
that with this, all we're doing is if we don't have a clear candidate, someone's gonna come in and they're watching also, and they're saying they don't have a clear candidate. So
that's
watch
like,
out
why
for.
would like, I feel like why would you make your slogan have your opponent's name in it? It was love Trump's hate. That was Hillary's slogan.
Oh.
Why would you do that? You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You thought it was clever.
The other one was
that's what the
I'm with
what the
her.
Virginia governor thought.
Yeah. The other one was I'm with her instead of she's with us. It was right there. It was right there. She's with us. Oh, you had it.
Well, because Bernie already
They
had
wanted
the
the
us.
H.
You know, he had that cornered.
I'm with her. Yeah, they wanted to use the age in the logo, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So as of right now, I don't see any clear. I like Justin Ventura, but he's up there in age as well. And then he would never run as a Democrat. So running as the Green Party is really going to be.
He would not. I mean, they lost ballot access in 2 states, I think, in 2020.
So so there you go. Swama Swan. I like her.
If only everyone in 2016 voted Green, then maybe they would have more ballot access. We would have still had Trump, but we would have had Greens with more ballot access, and maybe.
Well, guess what? At least, and I had this queued up where Brianna Joy Gray. It was a nice tweet. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Let me bring it up. Boom. So here was the original tweet. It said, imagine if Bernie Sanders had not accepted the results of the 2016 primary and decided he was going to launch a mass write-in campaign. So this is in reference to what happened in Buffalo when the Buffalo socialist, she won the Democratic nomination, but then the incumbent, he ran a write-in campaign, and with, like I said before, with the help of Republicans and with the help of corporatist Democrats, he was able to win a write-in campaign. So his the Queen Bree said, imagine if that was the case. So at least
in case we're not seeing what you're sharing.
Yeah, it's not showing up.
Oh, it's not showing up. Okay, that's weird. I don't know what you're seeing right now, but I can see it on my side.
Background. We're off to the side like we're supposed to be.
Okay. Do you see it now?
No, we just moved to the bottom.
All right. Well, you heard what I said, right? Hopefully you heard what I said, and so basically, the situation is really messed up, and at least the Democrats are now giving us permission that we can do a write-in campaign. We can do a third-party run. If Bernie would have ran the party, he would have been fine, because now the Democrats establishment are showing that it's a viable option, right?
A constitutional crisis would be quite interesting. So if nobody gets 270 electoral college votes, then the Senate decides the president, and Congress and the House decides the vice president. But it's not all 435 of the House. It's on a per state basis, and so that'd be quite interesting if there was like a focus campaign in just like 10 states, like a Bernie or something, and just won those states, and then nobody got 270. That would be it'd be quite interesting, and it would force Americans to actually learn about the Electoral College, and it would spark a conversation, and could lead to it could even lead to a constitutional amendment, it could lead to a lot of things. And the important thing is what ideas are going to be in place at the time. And that's why I'm fighting so hard against ranked choice instant runoff voting. But I also have a plan that I've written out and shared about how to subvert the Electoral College using voting methods that don't have vote splitting. So yeah, dude, I don't know. That'd be crazy, man.
Speaking of that, just shout out that and then I'll go to who's that started talking. John, that was you that started talking. All right, I'll go to you, John. But shout out you. There's a debate, or not a debate, a discussion that's being organized right now among star voting. And can you talk on that, or is it not finalized?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Right now or in a minute?
Yeah, you could talk right now.
Yeah, so the Equal Vote Coalition, this was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. Somebody had tagged me and a couple other people was like, let's make star voting like a main topic in 2022. And I was like, I'd be to host a live stream with these other candidates and talk about it. And then I was like, actually, maybe the Equal Vote Coalition could host some kind of cool candidate convention thing to talk about voting method reform and different voting rights and stuff. to make it like more neutral. And it sounds like that's what that's what they're gonna do. There's no like hard details yet. They're mostly just like gathering interest, and I'm like helping to promote it. But so I've got like a half dozen yeses, like another half dozen maybes, but like just trying to get candidates and like their supporters interested in just this idea of like a conversation. Just get a bunch of candidates from all over the country virtually together. There are lots of creative ideas about how we can organize the conversation, and then we can all like vote on the best voting methods using different voting methods, and we can have the audience involved. And like, it sounds like I was talking to them about it, and it sounds like something like this has been done before, but it would be really cool to have this on kind of a bigger, better scale. Yeah. So there's like no hard details. Like I said, it's kind of fuzzy at the moment, but like it's this just cool idea and concept that we're just kind of working. So tag at the equal vote if you're interested, whether you're a candidate or a supporter, and let them know like, hey, I want to do something like this.
Cool. Then John, and then we're going to go to a no cow zone. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to make a point to what Sass was saying, how cool it would be. Like, how cool it would be like if Democrats and Republicans voter would just come together and be like, you know what? We're not going to vote for neither one of them. We're just going to pick this other candidate, and we're just going to come together and pick like a third candidate or somebody that's not a Democrat or a Republican, and then just show them. That would be very interesting because never going to happen. But since we're saying how cool it's going to be, might as throw it out there.
If we had voting that didn't have vote splitting, it actually could happen, but we don't. So it's not.
Yeah. Okay. So let me show this. Welcome to No Cancel Zone, baby. That's for Izzy. You like that?
That was cool.
All right. So I want to ask Sass real quick. So when you first ran, he was unaffiliated and his district wasn't drawn just yet. So I was curious. I'm curious, and I'm asking now. If it was a plus red district, would you have ran as a Republican? Let me ask that question first.
Yes.
Interesting. So the question is now, how would that change the way you would run? Like, what platform would you emphasize, et cetera, et cetera? Go ahead.
My platform would be the same, but I might use some different words. So instead of universal basic income, I might say monthly stimulus checks. But otherwise, man, I've been very consistent from the beginning that these are solutions that include all people. And so it doesn't change. And I've also said from the beginning that regardless of what my affiliation ends up being, I'm not going to change my messaging and my focus in terms of these are solutions that are for everybody. So I have my policy stances, but that's detail stuff. And we can disagree on that, but that's not where my main focus is. My main focus is on fixing broken mechanics.
I love this.
Do you believe in a progressive Republican?
I think both of those terms are bullshit.
Because that's what the Gabe is going to run in Miami as the Republican.
I don't care is what I'm saying. I think all of those terms are irrelevant. They're meaningless because they don't mean the same thing to everybody anymore because the media has twisted and distorted it. So they're not good terms for communicating what I think and where my stances are. And so I just don't use them.
I think you're tickling Gabe's fancy right now. I feel like, Gabe, you want to jump in here and say anything?
I was just going to say, you heard it here first. Sass is a progressive Republican. You heard it here first.
How would you
but seriously, I'm totally with Sass on that. I think it's a matter of policy over labels. Before we would be called liberals. We would be called left. Then it became progressive, and they took that from us. And so now I don't even know what it was. The Democratic Socialists, and every 4 years or every 8 years, it's a different term. I don't even know what to call myself these days. And then the latest has been, what is it? Populist or something is one of the latest terms. But that could also be there's right populist, there's left populist. So which one are you? Or so it's all about what are the common sense positions, and the common sense positions that are already enacted across the world, and we're the laggards. That's what we have to promote. And it's less about labels, because when people label themselves, they go, oh, I'm very conservative, and they don't even know what it means. You ask them about Medicare for all, they go, yeah, I'm in favor of that. That means you're not conservative. But when people vote on policy, they vote progressive. But when they vote on labels, they either say centrist or conservative. So people don't know what the labels mean anymore. Again, what Sass was saying.
and just I think the prime example of this is I've talked to thousands of Texans across the state, and I think I might have even said this on this stream before that like a bunch of people have told me that their stance on abortion is I wouldn't do it myself, but I believe others should be able to make their own decisions about it. About half identifies pro-choice and about half identifies pro-life. These terms are meaningless. Stop using them.
Yeah, I think that I really have a strong theory that we hear about the gerrymandering going on in the United States and how the Republicans are using it to their advantage.
Democrats use it too.
Democrats use it too.
It
but
benefits both parties. If you do it right, you just make everything solid red or solid blue. You don't have any swing districts, and then neither party has to worry about challenging the other. It makes
but we
job
know that
easier.
with the gerrymandering war, the Republicans are winning, like by far, because the popular vote, Democrats get more votes, but the amount of people in Congress tilts towards the Republican. Like we're probably about to see that in this midterm. Am I right?
You will see that in Virginia for sure.
The
exactly.
Numbers, if you just look at the numbers, like you are correct, and like right, but like that doesn't mean that Democrats don't do it though.
No,
like,
I agree. I 100% agree with you. But this is my point. My point is,
I think the Republicans are just better at it too.
They're totally better at it. But my point is, if we had the infrastructure and we had a mentality that you and Gabe are thinking right now, we could infiltrate the Republican Party. All you have to do is get past the primary. So like a AOC situation where it's deep blue. As soon as you get past the primary, you're the winner. So like in all these deep red districts, we kind of you have the Trumpians on this side, and then you have the establishment Republicans on this side, and they're fighting. So for example, the 13, we're about to talk about that soon. I think the 13 or 12 Republicans that voted with the Democrats, like that's the establishment Republicans biting, hitting heads with the Trump, and the Trumpers are calling them rhinos, like Republican in name only and all this stuff. All you need is that progressive Republican. That's what we're going to call it, for lack of a better term, right now, to kind of slip in the middle and get that percentage of the vote, but to win. What you think, John?
You know what the Republicans would do, because that's what they did here in Virginia, right? They select the candidate at their convention. That's how Youngkin was selected. They don't have primaries.
But that's at the governor. That's at the state level.
No, but I mean, like if they would see that. What I'm telling you, I was using that as an example. What they would do is they would just go in and start selecting their candidates. They would just be like, you know what? We're the Republican Party. We could do whatever we want. They
can't do that. Well, at the House, at the House level, because first of all, they tried to do that with Trump last time, right? He started winning, and then McConnell and the establishment Republicans started thinking of ways to like maybe bring in super delegates, because the Democrats got that baked into their system, right? That shenanigan stuff. But the Republicans, they don't have super delegates, and they started thinking about, hey, how can we get Trump to not win? What did Trump do? He said, if you guys do any shenanigans, I'm running third party. He shut that whole thing down right there, right? So that's what we need to have, that kind of fire in our belly. And I think at least at the House and the Senate level, I don't see, they can't just select somebody for their primary. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, all right, that was a good chat. I really enjoyed that. Let's go on to Carlito. Even though he's not here, I'm still going to call Carlito's run down. Gabe, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just gonna say that on the going back to, or I guess to wrap up on labels.
Yeah, go ahead.
When people are given policies to vote on directly, like ballot initiatives, the ballot initiatives more often than not pass if they're progressive initiatives. So you look at Florida, a terrible conservative state run by a dictator, and you look at what have we passed over the last 4 years or 6 years. It's been $15 minimum wage, which a lot of people don't know. It's been voter rights restoration for felons that have served their time. And then third is marijuana legalization, or for medical use, and very soon recreational use will probably follow in the next couple of years. So it's like those are 3 progressive policies that were put on the ballot with no label, with no Democrat or Republican next to the name, just a common sense policy on paper. And I think the one I'm most proud of there is the $15 minimum wage. You know, it's something that shows that when people are given a common sense choice, they're going to pick, you know, what they think is right for not just themselves, but for society.
You brought that point up many times, and you know, up until this last election, I agree with you, Gabe. But then New York decided to put some ballot initiatives on their ballot, and none of what happened made any sense because they had 3 new voting initiatives. 2 of those being one that you can register to vote the day up until the day of election, and then the other one being no excuse mail-in voting. And we like idiots in a progressive state voted both of those things down via the ballot proposal. So I have no idea how or why that happened. You know, I can't make any sense of it, especially in a progressive state. So yeah, you're right in your Florida examples, and I think you're right probably even across the board. There's probably data to support that. But I don't know if the country's just taking a different turn or we're just getting stupider. But how did New York vote those 2 proposals down? I have no idea.
State ballot initiatives are hard. That's the answer. They're really hard, and if you don't have funding, you're screwed. It's that simple.
We're going to talk about that in Carlito's rundown, but I think Gabe got one last thing to say.
No, I was just gonna say, didn't you say that those separately when we were talking in the chat that they were like written in a very complicated way?
So there was the one. No, that was a separate. No, that was for redistricting ballot proposal, which was very, very confusing. And I see Holly Horns in the chat. I would be interested to see how she voted or what she thought of that. But no, that was a separate initiative.
Okay, 100%. All right, let's go to Carlito's rundown. And
all or nothing. Of course they are. I was just saying for all for nothing. Of course they are.
Yeah, go ahead.
that comment right there is gold because they're trying to screw us up. You know, once you get too much of a good thing, they're gonna try to take it away.
Where's that comment? Bring back that comment. Let's read it. Okay, Gabe. It says they are trying to make that harder moving forward in Florida. They want to make us vote in 2 consecutive elections to approve those.
Talking about the ballot initiatives.
State referendums.
Yeah.
Oh, that's ugly.
And then if they make it 2, and then they start passing it 2, they're gonna make it 3, and they're gonna make it 4 because we have nice things.
That's gotta be
unconstitutional?
I'm trying to think if I was going over Florida election code recently. I'm trying to think if that was
there is not. Or if that was, it's Florida.
We're lawless.
No worries. Virginia's
your election
coming
code.
up next.
Your election code is ridiculous. After the 2000 hanging chads, Florida's election code is so long.
Wow.
Don't worry. Virginia's not far behind.
They're trying to catch up. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So here's the first article, and much love to Carlito. We're giving him a break today. The FEC allows foreign money in U.S. referendums campaigns, and this is by Lachlan Marquet. And the Federal Election Commission has ruled foreign donors can finance U.S. referendums campaigns, opening the door to foreign spending on fights over high-profile policy issues, Axios has learned. So why does this matter?
Could you scroll up to the title again? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Why does this matter? Foreign nationals are barred from donating to U.S. political candidates or committees. But the FEC's decision allowing them to support ballot committees provides another avenue for foreigners to directly influence U.S. voters and domestic policy. So, Sass, give us the lowdown. What you think about this, my man?
Yeah, this was not a court case. I want to be very clear about what this was. The FEC has 6 directors who are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. It's very partisan. And they just decided 4 to 2 to allow foreign entities to put money into like referendums on ballot initiatives. And the thing about this is like their justification was kind of this like letter of the law argument, which isn't actually that good. If you look at it, it's like it's not even that good of an argument. But like my point, the bigger point is that like, you are not judges. Your job is not to interpret the law. Your job is to do the best for the within the best interest of the American people, like within your mandate. And so, like, absolutely absurd and ridiculous and dumb that they made this decision. This is 100% not in the interest of the American people to have foreign powers putting money into things that can directly affect like our democracy and electoral process and like everything else and all of our laws. Like that's just not good. And like I said before, you know, a well-funded state referendum or state campaign for a ballot initiative can oftentimes does well, not always, but oftentimes does pretty well if it's well-funded. So like I take huge issue with this. I hope this gets taken to court and the FEC gets their ass sued so hard, or you know, or at least gets this decision overturned, because it's ridiculous, and it just represents one more thing in our government that like, look, we caught it today, but this is gonna fly so under the radar. Like I doubt that this is gonna like stay in the news for very long, and we're gonna forget about it in a week, which is so disappointing because it's just one more thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, let me show you this. This is the makeup of the FEC right now, and it has 2 Democrats and 3 Republicans and 1 independent. And then, so there's 2 terms here. The independent, it says the term expired, serving until replaced. So he could already be replaced. I don't know. What are we waiting for? And then here's another, the Republican, this person over here, the term expired. So this person could be replaced also. So here's 2 positions that Biden can nominate 2 Democrats so that we don't have craziness like this happening, or you would think theoretically, you know. But, you know, what the heck is going on here? But just like Sass said, they shouldn't be making those type of decisions. At least as far as we know, that's not how it's supposed to work. But
well, they had to make a decision. They were forced to because of like it was a thing that was happening, and it's their job to make that decision. They just made the wrong decision, like clearly, obviously the wrong decision. Like again, it's like they're not citing lines from the Constitution like we see so often in the courts or anything like that. Like they were trying to exercise some power that I don't think that they have. Like do what's in the best interest of the people. This was obviously not in the best interest of the American people. Like it's plain and simple.
100%. Unless anybody else has anything to say, we're going to move on to the next show. I mean, the next article. Money for green energy creates more jobs than fossil fuel investment, new study finds. So for every, and this is by Alexander Kaufman. So for every $1 million the United States government invests, solar produces over 2.7 times more jobs than fossil fuels, according to an analyst from 2 environmental think tanks and a labor union. Wind energy spurs over 2.8 times more jobs than investment in oil, gas, and coal. And retrofitting buildings to be more energy efficient creates demand for nearly 3 times as many jobs. So, John, what you think about this right here?
That was me. That was mine.
Crazy article.
And I'm just gonna say no shit. Like obviously we know this. Like as Sass put it in the chat, like water is wet. None of this is surprising. It shouldn't even have to take that our green jobs generate or our green investments generate more money than fossil fuel investments. But the fact that they do is even more reason to switch to them. It's kind of like Gabe always brings up the point, like, you know, we should have Medicare for all, not just because it's great, because we absolutely need it, but because it's also cheaper. Like it also will save us in the long run. Exactly. And so will this. But it doesn't, even this news, like there's no angles that we can come at this problem with if we can't even make it, you know, fiscally obvious that this is what we should be going towards. That is going to make the majority of the country switch over to just green thinking. It's very frustrating. You know, Van Jones wrote the Green Collar Economy book. I don't even know how many years ago at this point. What was that? Like it was in Obama's time, right? I think 15 years ago almost now. A while ago. And look at where we are today. We're still trying to make this argument and getting nowhere with it. So extremely frustrating.
100%. That's extremely disappointing. Anybody else? Go ahead, Gabe.
What? Oh, go ahead, Gabe.
I was just gonna say that I think previously I've done the calculation, and if you look at the wars on terror, just those wars alone, and the trillions of dollars spent. One time I did a calculation that was we could put solar panels on every single building in the United States, and it would have cost less than the cost of those wars. So if we didn't go to war after 9/11, we would have less Americans dead because the thousands of servicemen, men and women who've given their lives over there. Plus, we would have saved trillions of dollars, and we could potentially have invested that all into ourselves and have not just something that's a nice to have, it's also an investment, because now it's better for the environment, and it's also like any investment, it's going to continue paying for the future, because it's going to be recurring energy. It's not just one-time use gas that you burn up. It is a panel that's going to continually generate energy. So it's just sad when you see what we could have done versus spending money on wars.
100%.
Two more quick things I'll say is one, the last episode of Last Week Tonight, the one that just aired last night, did a really good segment on energy, the grid, and all that. So I highly recommend watching that. He talks about really the transportation of it. Like, even if we build all this green energy, we don't even have the transportation lines to move it all. So, very important, which I wasn't even aware of, and I'm supposed to be the tree hugger here. So, very important, very, very important to know, and a good watch. And then also, he talks about this whole climate change conference that they just did, and how they're pledging now. I guess they're saying that the warming, they're trying to keep warming below 1.8 degrees, before 2100, and that's if they meet all their goals, which we know they're not going to do. And 1.8 degrees is already too high. Where the goal is supposed to be 1.5 degrees, or else we may end up in irreversible climate change. So it just goes to show, like, if we're not doing these, if we're not making these investments right now, it's too late, and I don't see it happening.
Izzy, can you talk to me? Explain just a little bit, real quick, as quickly as you can, about you said the transportation line is not sufficient.
Yeah. So apparently, he gave this example of Vermont, I believe, where they generate more solar and wind energy than their actual transportation lines can hold. So
the grid.
You see like the wooden poles with the electric lines on it.
We need to upgrade the grid for sure. And decentralizing power generation helps too, like with rooftop solar and battery backups. That will also help to stabilize the grid.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, that's the one point he did mention, where if we just decentralize, kind of like what Gabe has always talked about with Puerto Rico, if everybody could just provide their own electric, we would be in a much better shape. That is a great point. But when you think about really populous cities, they're going to have to get their energy from somewhere else. They're not going to be able to generate all within house. And so the grid, those actual huge lines that you see in the middle of nowhere that move all of our electricity, they can't hold the amount of electricity that we need to generate to move from, like, the Midwest, where we generate all of our wind, and the Southwest, where we generate all of our solar, to California and to New York and all that other stuff. So all of that needs to be upgraded.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are solvable problems for sure.
Yeah.
So
all for
PJ,
nothing.
Yeah, PJ all for nothing said. And by the way, you got elevated to PJ status. All for nothing. We see you enough. Much love. Serious question, because I don't know. Is there not a corporation out there looking to be the OG green energy / future monopolistic company that profits the most once we do fully switch to renewables?
Is that not Tesla?
Yeah, that's Tesla. What I was going to throw out there. I mean, they're the closest, I would say, right? I mean,
they're way ahead of everybody else.
They're trying, but they're not producing so many. They're like, most of them.
No, but they're
mostly installing.
Up. Yeah. But like, they're trying though. Like, it's not for lack of effort.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're opening up. They're opening up factories in China to ramp up, right? But go ahead, Izzy. What you said?
Wait, does Tesla own Solar City now? Because Solar City was the big one that was coming out.
Yeah, no, they own it. So Solar City used to be, he gave it to one of his cousins, and then he just bought it back. So they own they own it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sass.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
The China factory is for products that are being sold in China, and the factories in America are for stuff being sold in North America. Factory in Berlin is for stuff being sold in Europe. Like, the idea is, like, shipping stuff around the world is dumb, so don't waste energy doing it, which, like, makes sense. So he's like, the goal is to have factories on every continent except Antarctica. But, like, yeah.
Speaking of that, go ahead.
I was saying that's the same point or parallel point to what Izzy was making about the electrical lines. You don't ship stuff if you don't have to. You shouldn't have to ship energy through lines. You can just have solar panels or wind something nearby. So it's common sense for one thing, like supply chain, but it's not common sense for energy, and we're ignoring it. And just for all for nothing, what they were saying, I've always wondered that is like, I look at companies like Exxon and BP and all those people that have these large oil monopolies. I'm like, why aren't they just using all that money to own the next generation? And the answer is because they go quarter to quarter on investment reports. So it's all they're thinking about is what's the next quarter. They don't care about 30 years from now monopoly, because they're going to be dead by then. They want to own today and return shareholder dividends and stuff like that.
That's why resources that we need to live should not have like a profit motive behind it. Like it just ruins it.
Yeah,
I do like Magnus is in the chat, by the way, right now.
Oh yeah.
Our Boogaloo boy. He makes a great point that when we're talking about environmental stuff, we like military industrial complex is like a huge deal. I tweeted about this earlier. Like I found out that because the U.S. military uses more oil than like almost any other entity in the world, but like we fight wars over oil. So like if we didn't fight wars over oil, we wouldn't need so much oil. Like. Yeah,
100%. There's a lot. Yeah, Magnus, we're gonna be talking. Let me see. Hopefully, we got enough time. We had a little before we started the show. We was talking about you, so we might bring you up. So stay if you want to hear yourself get talked about. And it's all in love, though. It's all in love and fun. Let's go to the last article that we're gonna do because it's soon 9:00. And let me bring it up here. Make sure you guys can see it. Just want to make sure. All right. How these ultra-wealthy politicians avoided paying taxes. And this is by Ellis, Robert, and Ken Ward Jr. Starts off with a story about Governor Jared Polis, who called for Trump's tax returns as a congressman. But when he ran for governor, he refused to show his taxes because his opponent didn't. Right? Despite a net worth estimated to be in the hundreds of millions, Polis paid nothing in federal income tax in 2013, 2014, and 2015. From 2010 to 2018, his overall rate was just 8.2%, less than half of the 19% paid by a worker making $45,000 in 2018. The records show that rich Democrats and Republicans alike have slashed their taxes using strategies unavailable to most of their constituents. Among them are governors, members of Congress, and cabinet secretary. So, John, now it's John's turn. What do you think about this, John?
Well, this is like we know this is an issue. Like the article was talking about a line where it says Richard Painter, the chief White House acting lawyer during the George Bush era. So this is like a George Bush guy says that. This is very worrisome because it's both party and they're doing it, right? So it goes back to like you don't hear about this in main media, in corporate media, because they're not going to talk about it, and you're not going to hear about it when opponents, they're not going to use it against each other because they both doing it, right? So I always use the example of the Virginia race right here, right now, right? So Youngkin used to be the CEO of the Carlyle Group. They do a lot of crazy things. They buy all these companies, get rid of unions, get rid of jobs, and do that stuff. Terry McLaren couldn't use that against him because he owns 3 million shares of the Carlyle Group. So it's the same thing. So like you can't go and use these people against each other. Like, oh, well, you don't pay your taxes. Well, they're going to use, well, you don't pay your taxes. And I don't understand why people, it goes back to voters. Like they need to be educated. We'll continue to vote for these people over and over and over, and they get over all this loophole. If you look at, it says here also like West Virginia, Jim Justice, for example, is a Republican who has made the Forbes list of wealthy America, yes, has paid very little or no federal income taxes for almost every year since 2000. So you have a lot of these people that are just getting away with, they also say, talk about there is a lot of politicians that do pay high taxes, but they do get they use the deduction and gift fairly well to kind of like reduce it and stuff like that. So we gotta get rid of this. There shouldn't be, politicians should not be paying no taxes like this. And it's got to be something that says if you don't pay your taxes, you get evicted or you get like taken out of your position or something. But this is crazy.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. Anybody else got anything to add to this obvious? Like, we gotta ban this. Go ahead, Gabe.
We used to do a segment that was kind of like trying to solve the world problems, and in this case, maybe in the next episode, but going back to taxes, it's like, you know, we have all these loopholes. I've heard crazy ideas like the flat tax. I've heard the eliminating all tax loopholes. Like, we should get into detail on that. Do like a good 15-20 minute combo on what is the solution there to solve this.
Yeah, it's called the think tank.
Think tank. There it is. Think tank.
Yeah. I know Sass would love it
altogether.
Say that again, Izzy.
I said that and the corporate death penalty altogether.
Yeah. I know Sass would do well in our think tank. Like that was a segment that we do. We got to bring that back. Yeah, where we try to solve different problems and I know, man. All you got to do is read his website. He got a whole bunch.
I got some crazy stuff on my site, man. I got some pretty creative solutions on there.
Yeah. All right, so we got 9 minutes left. So let's get into some other to some no-cow zone. Yeah. All right, so we bring back no cancel zone, and I have my own question, but since Magnus was in the chat, you know, let's chat about that. So before we even started streaming, you know, I was talking to my man Sass, and we was talking about a Hawaiian shirt, and somehow Boogly Boys came up and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to give the floor to Sass and about what you think about the situation. You know, there was controversy. I don't even know if it was like a year ago now when Magnus went on Jimmy Dore's show, and a lot of people on the left were mad at Jimmy Dore for platforming a Boogly Boy who is supposed to be like almost the equivalent of a Proud Boy. I think that's what a lot of people would say, and as far as being racist and a lot of different things, but Jimmy Dore allowed Magnus to talk, and from what I saw in that, if I could just look at what was in that clip, he didn't seem like a bad person. But I'll be honest, I didn't do a thorough research, but I want to talk to my man Sass, who knows. I don't want to say how much you know him. I'm just going to give you the floor. Go ahead, Sass.
Yeah, no, I mean, like what you saw in that interview was legit. There's definitely, you know, there's tons of smearing all over the internet. I mean, because they would show up to protests armed, and people, you know, you get people are like in this mindset, especially with like defund the police and stuff, and they're like, it freaks some people out because they're not used to seeing guns all over the place, and then that turns into smear campaigns, and then they get associated with other people who are also armed in at protests but are there for different reasons. Boogaloo Boys, they're there just to protect protesters and to help keep peace. Everybody's got a little bit of a different agenda or whatever, but like they were certainly not there to hurt protesters. It was so interesting because like I reached out to him. I can't even remember like what the thing was for the first time around, but we ended up like talking and things were going well. And then later on, he messaged me and was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize like you did all of the interviews about Garrett Foster getting shot." So Garrett Foster got shot in summer of 2020 here in Austin at a Black Lives Matter protest. It was just a drive-by, and he was like, "Yeah," he is like, "Yeah." Garrett was a Boogaloo Boy, which is I think was like really telling because Garrett was like literally out there marching. He'd been out there marching over 50 nights in a row. He would like regularly go out and like take care of and like feed the homeless in Austin. He was in the military, but then his fiance got sick and became she had to get all of her limbs amputated. And so, yeah, big deal. And it was like medical negligence was effectively the reason for it. So he came home and became her caretaker. And so like they were out there every single night. And like he was literally like holding, like people were like misinterpreting this picture in the video and what happened and what the what the murderer's lawyer said. And he was literally holding a trans pride flag in one hand underneath. And people were like, "Oh, he's like shouldering his gun to like go point it at the dude, and so that's why the dude shot." And it's like, no, that's not what happened. It was a drive-by, and so we did a live stream on it. It was like this whole thing, Yeah, but yeah, so it was like
Yeah.
there's very much like the perception of the Boogaloo Boys is like not accurate, and like there was for sure like people infiltrate every group, so like there's always this like kind of trying to moderate and like take out the people who are infiltrating, and so like that happened to them too, and that hurt their name a little bit. But like I said, that happens to every group. So yeah, I mean, like I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I didn't really have like a prepared speech, but
no worries.
generally, yeah.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. I think that's all. This is a simple discussion. This is not like we're not doing a dissertation. And I think you talked about it perfectly. And I want to that's a something I think about with the People's Gauntlet. Like if this thing becomes big enough, and if it becomes the vision that I think that it can become, and it's working in every district, how do we deal with infiltrators? Or what if you have that one bad infiltrator that smears the People's Gauntlet's name, and now candidates who affiliate with it are like, oh, now we have to affiliate with it. Like almost like how Jake had to disaffiliate from Justice Democrats. That's a situation where Jake has this big platform, and somebody who wants to like, okay, let's see, how can we hurt Justice Democrats who just elected AOC, who's becoming a force in progressive politics? How can we disrupt them? Okay, let's take away their media arm, right? So that's where I got to give credit to Jake, though, because he wasn't salty enough that he stopped interviewing people who are running for office. He still gives them a platform, and he actually wants them to come on the show. It's just that once they get elected, they never come back on independent media. That's a whole other story. But I think that we don't have to go too deep into that. I think you talked about it, Sass. Unless anybody has any quick questions, I want to move on. Anybody? Gabe, you good?
So Sass, I mean, is there any part of you? I mean, I'm just reading up on the Boogaloo Boys. I'll be honest. I've always kind of, like Case was saying before, I've always associated them with the Proud Boys. That's probably not correct. But reading up on Magnus, I know he's in the chat. It sounds like our anarchism is basically the end goal here, right? So is that something that you also agree? Is that like a goal of yours as well?
Like I said earlier in the stream, like I think these anarchism, if you know what it means, is actually decently well defined. So it's either you know what it is or you don't. There's not a lot of gray area there. But like I don't. That's not the way I think about my goals. I don't have any single ideology that I'm like, running towards or whatever. Like, dude, I just care about the well-being of the people and the planet. And like, I absolutely have like a vision for the type of future that I want to see. But like, the way I think about it is like, all right, cool, I know where I want to get, but like now I need to break it down into concrete steps of how do we get from A to B, and now I just need to focus on the next step. And that's what I'm doing with this campaign and what my platform is. And like, it's not, I'm keeping the big picture in mind as I go through my interactions, but my focus and my energy is on the next step. So I wouldn't, and we don't know how things are going to change in the future. So there's no like single ideology that like I am like vying for. But I will also say this, like, again, my solutions include all people, all of them. When I say all, I mean all. I don't care how you identify. Like, I don't care what you've done or what you did or whatever. When I say all, I mean all. And there is a way to include everybody. So, like, I'm not going to shun people because of some identity that they hold. Like, I won't do it.
All right. With that said, I know, Sass, this is at your request to show this picture here.
That was earlier. That was
okay.
We were talking about both the Democrats and the Republicans avoiding taxes. It was like when they take the masks off, when Homer rips the masks off of them, and like turns out they're just the same.
Yeah, 100%. And then I know we're coming down to the end. Are you good to last another 10 minutes?
Yeah,
we're having good discussions here. And there's a video. Let me see if I could. I'll cue it up. But let's go into the next no cow zone. And I should have had this queued up. Well, all right. So the last no cow zone for today, no cancel zone. We're going to talk about should progressives or leftists dabble in the dark arts of campaigning, or how far? Another way to say this is how far should leftists go to win at all costs? So what I'll talk about is basically in Buffalo, we saw how establishment Democrats teamed up with the Republicans to get out the socialists. Like, would we need our version of that? Is that something that we should do? Right? That's the first question. Let me throw that first question out. What you guys think?
I think, to channel Carlito since he's not here, the idea is always that, progressives want to progress, right? And conservatives and the rest, they just want to kill anything so that they don't, I mean, Magnus might love to hear this, so that they can basically not pass anything and just, bring down the government altogether. So I don't, it's hard for me to imagine how you basically just try to like blow up the whole system while also actually making progress as a society as well, and doing achieving progressive goals. So it's really hard for me to just imagine a scenario like that. If all we do is resist and fight, how do we make progress?
I think they have to play that same game, just because we have shown that playing the nice guy is not going to get us anywhere, right? So plus we also have to have some type of strategy, right? We go back to and I use my home state, right? When we were going for governor race, there was like 4 or 5, there were 6 people in the race, and like 3 or 4 of them could be identified some type of progressive or more progressive than the Terry, and they split the vote. Was like, so we have to have also a strategy that when you have, and I think this will be a question for Sass, like, if you have you have like 7 candidates, and that the possibility of you not winning is there, like, we should come and have our own coalition and say, hey, you align, we know that you are the one that has the better shot, and you align with all the views that we see. We're going to come together and then try to go you against them. And we don't do that. We always stay in the race either too late, or we don't, do what we have to do, and then we ended up losing.
But let's not detract from Case's point. Like, Case's question is really about, like, should we just basically like blow it up just to make sure that we get elected at all costs, right? Like, do whatever it takes to get elected at all costs.
Yes.
And I mean, dropping out of a race earlier, to me, is not really blowing anything out. Like, I don't.
No. I was making an example, but I'm saying yes, you should. But what I'm saying is some of the issues that we have is that, right? We have 3 or 4 sometimes candidates running, and we split the vote, and we end up losing.
Go ahead, Sass.
Not all progressives are the same, first and foremost, but like, I think it's really just dependent on like what in your perception, if you identify as a progressive, do you think is the delta between Republicans and Democrats? If you think it's small, then yeah, play dirty, because like in your head, then you're only running against one enemy that just gets to run 2 candidates. But if you think that there's a bigger delta between them, I think it's like a tougher call. But the other piece too is like, most progressives suck at running campaigns. Like, they're just bad at it. So it's like, get better at campaigning. Like, if you can create if you can quickly create a real tertiary identity, so you can make this clear separation of like, there's Republican talking points, there's Democrat talking points, there's progressive talking points, and each of you have your own terms and words that you use. And you can create that quickly, like within a single election cycle, even if it's just locally. And then you leverage that in a polarizing way. And like, you are able to like fundraise too. Like, then you might be able to run a successful write-in campaign that beats it. But like, you also got to be careful, because it's like, the higher the seat you go for, the more attention you're going to gain from your Nancy Pelosi's, your Chuck Schumer's, and the more like funding and opposition you're going to get. So it's like, you gotta, and a lot of it depends too, like where you're running. Like, again, like I said here, like we have a primary and a runoff. Like, this whole election is going to be decided in these partisan primary runoffs, but they're open, so Republicans can vote in them too. And so like that changes the dynamics. But like the vote splitting is less of an issue with the top 2 runoff. So they're like weird dynamics that you have to consider in every single place. And again, I'll also draw the parallel to the Tea Party about how like they were super strategic with what they did. So yeah, there's a lot to consider here in this this question.
Yeah. So let me talk about the different ranges of this. Like, so on the far extreme of dark politics, that's where you have people who do opposition research. And so, for example, like Crystal Ball, let's say somebody, let me not use a name. Let's say a candidate uses nudes for somebody else. Like, that's like the far extreme. You're like, oh, this person was once naked and here's the pictures out, and that gets into the ether. Like, and that's how you get rid of their campaign. Like, that's really super dirty, right? And then you have the, like, maybe in between where you have something called push polling, where I think it was the Bush campaign did it to John McCain, where they did push polling when they called up the people in that state or wherever they were targeting, and they said, hey, if you knew that John McCain had a black daughter, illegitimate black daughter, would you vote for him? Now, it doesn't matter that that daughter was adopted, but they're saying, hey, did you know about this person, even though it's not true? And you know what I'm saying? So that's a really ugly side of it too. You know what I'm saying? And then here's the last one that I'm going to bring up, which is called the Pied Piper theory. So we saw this famously when Hillary Clinton kind of bolstered. We heard stories of Bill Clinton encouraging Trump to run for office. And then when he did run, Hillary Clinton had her Hillary people use the media or her connections to bolster Trump because they were hoping for Trump to win the nomination because they thought, oh, he's definitely not going to win. So that's a situation where Hillary lost. But there's a situation where it actually did work. Claire McCaskill, she lost her last race, right? She's done, I think Josh Hawley's there now. But the race right before that, 6 years before that, she did the Pied Piper theory in the primaries, this extreme Republican, and she had her do, dark money and stuff. They had commercials and they bolstered him up and he won. And then it was easy for her to run against him and she actually won another term, right? So here is an example right now where you have 13 Republicans who voted for this bipartisan bill. And I'm wondering, should progressives say, like, use resources to say, oh, these are rhinos, we need to get them out, and then to hopefully get like a progressive Democrat? I don't want a blue dog Democrat, conservative Democrat there, but what you guys, I'm gonna throw this to you guys.
I'm all for doing that against Republicans, but I guess my point to you is, okay, say you run these dirty campaign tactics. Let's say you actually win your election. Once you get in, what hope do you have of passing anything or being of use to anyone when every single, at least, granted, progressives get thrown under the bus all the time by establishment Democrats, right? But at the very least, at least AOC has the ear of some of them sometimes. It's not a lot. We can't be celebrating over that. But if she were Nina Turner, who just started primarying whoever's going to run for the presidential election in 2024, and she gets elected or whatever, what hope does she have to work with anybody to pass anything when they're all going to despise her?
So my thing is, this is strictly for those red districts, right? So a blue district that's like supposed to be family on family crime, right? But I'm talking about those districts that are swing districts. So for those 13 Republicans, they were mainly from the tri-state area, like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and they were in districts where it's kind of it's a swing districts, right? So I'm saying if you can use tactics there, and from what I understand, at least on the Republican side, when you if you're a Republican and you beat a Democrat, you get rewarded once you get into office. Like, they give you all the top positions because they want you to go back to your the constituents and say, hey, look, I got all this power. So I don't know exactly if the Democrats, which, they're bad with politics, I don't know if they do that, but the Republicans are smart enough to like bolster the people who win a swing district because they want to continue keeping that swing districts. You understand, Izzy?
So basically, you're talking about running dirty politics as a progressive against a Republican, not against an establishment Democrat. That's what you're suggesting?
So in this case, yeah, so should progressives
I think they should run it against both.
Okay, so I'm saying in the case of those 13 Republicans that voted for the bipartisan bill, but you could answer both questions if you want to.
All right, well, Republicans. I mean, yeah, run whatever campaign you want against those people. Yeah, I'm all for that. Yeah, show the news, whatever.
Yeah. All right. Any last words on this topic, and then I'm gonna show one
No,
clip.
I think
and then
I think they should do it
Yeah.
against both. Like again, like playing nice hasn't gotten us anything. So at the end of the day, they play that game, and we need to play the same game.
I'm with John.
It's politics. Anything goes. When they go in there, that's how we got to do it. Once we get in there, we're in there.
100%. Once we in there, we in there. All right, let me play this clip for you guys.
The reason I thought you'd be such a good candidate last time, I remember.
Well,
I know.
I did a
For a
good
minute, you were like, you came on, you went up there, and then Biden. Okay.
Yeah.
And but is that you're an honest broker? I feel in the party between the progressive wing and the. I mean, there's no non-progressive wing in the Democratic Party. It's just. Well, a couple. Yes,
So
Joe
there
Manchin.
are a lot of moderates that work across the aisle and things in the Democratic Party. There's a
Hey, did you guys see that? That's the part I wanted the mic drop. Like, let me play it again real quick.
Bill Maher is getting desperate.
Honest
He
broker
said there are no
in the party
non-progressives.
between the progressive wing and the. I mean, there's no non-progressive wing in the Democratic Party.
Look at that face. I paused it.
The
Yeah.
establishment Democrat is looking right at you like, what are you talking about? I'm not a progressive. Like, she's looking right at him like, what do you mean?
Yo, Bill Maher, what's going on with Bill Sass? What's up with this guy, man?
From what I can tell over the last year or two, his audience has been falling off, and he's just been saying more and more ridiculous things to try to get more people to watch.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. I don't care.
Yeah, it's just hilarious that this is the media that a certain amount of people, I'm sure, is getting less and less people are watching. You know, there's a lot better people
the
out there.
premium HBO channels you have to pay extra for.
Yep. All right.
It's bad when the View is more progressive than Bill Maher.
Yep, 100%. So I just want to, as we get out of here, I want to thank again my man Sass, and then you guys look for anything in the chat, any good chats that before we end. But I'm going to give a commercial real quick to my workshop coming up. Let me see if I could bring this up. Boom. Okay, and let me see if I can make it a little bigger. So anyway, this is my workshop coming up this Friday. Nope, that's the wrong direction. But it's going to be hosted by the Fred Hampton Leftists, and I'm going to be doing a workshop on basically how. Let me actually read it here. I'm excited to present this workshop to everyone. I'm going to be summarizing what I learned from the book. This is an uprising: How Nonviolent Revolt is Shaping the 21st Century by Mark Engler and Paul Engler. And this is it here, and it's going to be this Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's part of the whole General Strike Summit weekend. It's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm excited to check out all the other workshops that's going to be going on. And I'm hoping it's going to be a very interesting workshop. The idea is to look at the past, the civil rights, Gandhi, a lot of, the gay movement, a lot of what they did, look at some of the errors that was made. There's that organization called the Weather Underground, where they were basically like left-wing terrorists, and no, it did not work. So we're going to talk about how, violence does not work to change people's minds. And it's going to be a very interesting workshop. So, yeah. All right. And anything else in the chat? Anybody just jump in if you see any good stuff in the chat?
Somebody asked me about Greg Kazar, who is a city council member in Austin who's decided to run in the same district that I am. And he has about 100 endorsements. So he got those before he even announced his run.
Wow.
Yeah. And I voted for him last year. He's actually pretty good.
So you feel nervous? Are you nervous?
I'm a bit nervous. I'm running against somebody who's actually a good candidate. He's not savvy about universal basic income, I don't think, because he was, and I don't know what he knows about voting method reform, and those two are huge for me. So may the best candidate win. But he knows what he's doing, and a lot of people like him. So we'll see what happens.
Let's play this scenario out. So let's say he was raising $100,000. in the
He
next
raised
month.
40,000 in the first like 3 hours or something.
See,
Wow.
so in a month he's gonna have $100,000 war chest. Like, what? If you don't want to talk your strategy here, of course you don't have to. But I'm curious, like, do you have any? Like, if I was you, I would think, okay, he's got the money. I need to get the people. So I need to work on my volunteer campaign. I got to go to my local colleges and get them on board, and then I got to start knocking on doors and do what AOC did and like wore out my shoes. Like, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, like for sure. He's in his third term. Like he already has a volunteer base. He already has a donor base. He already has a call list.
So he's the incumbent. I'm sorry, he's the incumbent.
He city councilor.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And like he got the endorsement of like every Austin city councilor, of like every San Antonio city councilor. He got the endorsement of the Austin mayor. He got the endorsement of like previous like candidates for like U.S. House and stuff. I think he even got an endorsement from who is technically the current incumbent in this district, but is switching districts to 37, the new one. And so like he's got a coronation. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, he's the one case. He's the one that we shared that Twitter with, that you said he had you a Medicare for all. Yes, Sass, he is pretty good. I saw his video on Twitter, and
really? Is that guy? Oh,
that guy,
smokes.
yeah.
Holy, all right. So I'm not. Let me not over dramatize this thing. I still believe in my man. Sass.
What tweet are you talking about?
No, I sent out a tweet of a guy that seemed pretty good. I didn't know that was him, and he seemed really like he just announced, like right, like recently. Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that. You know what? I didn't even put together the district number. I didn't, or at least I didn't see it. That is this District 35, same as yours?
35, yeah.
Jesus, I'll double check to make sure. But man, that guy seems very polished. But hey, as long as you got a strategy, I still believe you, my man.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I still want you to win, because at least
I'm
I
not
know.
abandoning this platform, man. I've said before, like, look, dude, only one person's gonna win, right? And there are a bunch of us running. Like what I've learned over this process and like what I put together, like I really believe in this stuff, and I'm going to continue being active in this space and working on like pushing these things. And like a lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily require that I be in Congress. It just works better if I am.
Yeah. All right, man. We definitely went over. I wanted to go to 9:10. It's 9:17, so I want to respect everybody, especially my man Sass. I want to respect his time and my PJ's time. But I want to give a shout out to Pookie Wood, Raphael, my PJ Raff, Magnus. Thanks for coming by, Magnus. Much love. PJ Holly's in the chat. We missed our guy PJ Neat. PJ All for Nothing 388 is in the chat, and everybody else. Jordan Ryan. Much love to everybody, and Mia. Even though you don't chat with us no more, much love to you, Mia. I know. Hopefully, you're listening to hear that shout out. And as we get played out, Bendon. Thank you so much for playing us out. Well, let me play let me show our Patreons while you play us out. Much love to Pedro Hernandez, Nancy Venture, PJ Chris, and Akbash Akita. Yeah, there we go. All right.
PJ Chris, where you at?
PJ Chris, where you at? Much love to everybody. Thanks again for coming through. This is the Political Junkie Show. And adios to everybody. Much love.
Much love to Garrett Foster.
Let me show you guys real quick. Let me take this off. Boom. What you said? Sass?
Much love to Garrett Foster.
Yeah, Garrett Foster too. Much love to you guys. All right. Any last words? Let me go around the horn one last time. Izzy, any last words?
Nope, I'm good. Welcome back, Mia.
The love always sneaking in. 919.
Love always. Much love.
I remember you.
Yeah. John, I'm gonna go to Sass last. So, John, any last words?
Big Bird 2024.
Big Gabe Papi Chulo, Twitter, TikTok Papi Chulo.
IWAC1 LAU on TikTok. Go follow me.
Much love. And then to our guests, last words. Sass, anything you want to promote coming up this week? I know you got a lot. You could go ahead.
Yeah, just go to voteforsass.com. It's a central hub for everything. But check out my Twitter or my Facebook and my Instagram. I posted all the streams that I'm doing this week, and I'll keep updated with links to go to all of them. But yeah, so if you want to see me ramble some more this week, this is the week to do it for sure.
Yeah, I got Sass.
Are you on Spanish? You're on the Spanish version.
Yeah.
There we go. We gotta give some love to our Espanol people. Hey, why not? And forget the other guy. Forget that other 30 guy that jumped in with all the endorsements and all that stuff. We got our guy Sass, who we know is coming back on the show once he gets elected. That's why I'm voting for my man Sass. He's got the PJ endorsement. Much love to our guy. All right, everybody, much love. See y'all next week. I'm not going to be here next week, but the guys are going to be here and produce the show, and then we're going to be off for Thanksgiving. I believe that's the following week, right, guys? Yeah. All right. Much love, everybody. Peace.
Adios.